Hi Thomas, I'm doing this tutorial in order to demo what you can do with Janus in regards to multiple items. You wanted to break out multiple items in their masks. So you said in the email you were doing like hundreds of objects, and if you were to do everything using groups, you may have to maintain a lot of groups. But there's already a mechanism in Janus that will handle some stuff for you. So let me go through how that's done. First, I'll just do the process, and I'll explain later on uh, why I made that process. So what I'm going to do now, I have my desks here, and that's my I have 10 of them, or about 11 I think. So and they have all groups. They're grouped into one null. You can have as many items obviously as you want, or you can have just one, or you can just assign a single item into a group. But in this case, I have two objects and one null per unit, per item. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to select everything. Actually, I'm just going to collapse this and just pick out the 11 desks. I'm going to create a group. I'm going to add a group and hit OK. Sorry, forgot a name. I use tables. OK. And then so I can see all my items here, my nulls. And I have propagate turned on, which is very important, because propagate will say that each desk is not really will have will include the two other layers and treat them as one object. So that's important to have the propagate turned on there. The next step I'm going to do is obviously create a render pass for it. But since I have only one group, I'll only create one render pass. So I'm going to create render pass from selection. The command type will be, for now I'll just use bty2. And then foreground. Let me just do that for HoldNet. Okay. And use the foreground thing here, propagate, and then just click OK. So I have a hold mat type pointing to the tables. The next step is to make sure my default object association is include. The next step is to type GroupItem, add that. The next one is for loop, get the numerical increment and add that as well. Okay, remember I'm going to explain this later, but now for now what I'm going to do is type in the following in quotations: 1, 11, comma 1. So that's it. 11, comma 11, comma 1. I'm sorry, 1. Yeah, as you can see, yeah. The next one is GroupItem. I'm going to type in the following: %sign JN for each underscore index period. Great. Now, and I'm going to type over the tables here the same thing: JN for each index. Alright, so the pass name is reflected here as well. I'm going to save my changes, and what I'm going to do is, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce the number here to 3 for the purposes of demonstration, and I'll do the rest later on. Hold on. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to break out this render pass, and notice the event log. As you can see, it created a render pass underscore 1, and it continues to do so. So you're breaking out only once. You do a command, and what Janus does is actually does 3, and it increments it up. So I'll explain what's going on here. The Foreach is the one doing the work, and the Foreach here is counting from 1 to 3 and doing like a frame step by 1. So it's counting on 1, 2, 3, and each time it goes through that loop, it feeds this variable called for each index, which represents the number of times, or the amount of times it already has done it. So for each, the first time it runs it, for each index will be 1. The second time it runs it will be 2. So it's kind of dynamic in that sense. That's why you're getting, if you look at the render pass, it becomes tables 1, because I've put here in the pass name tables underscore for each index. So that's number 1, and then it repeats again. It becomes tables 2, and then it becomes tables 3. Now, group item is important because when you feed it like a number, it uses that number and says and looks up the index in the items in the group. If you feed it the number 1, it will take this item here, desk 1, and it will strip off everybody else, so that in effect desk 1 is the only item in that group. So it's like a dynamic way of removing the other items in that group. So exclusions or inclusions. And so what's happening here is, at the first pass, this desk 1 is the only one in the group, and in the second pass only desk 10 is in the group, and so on and so forth. So as you can see, it's like a dynamic way, and it's quite simple because all you have to do is specify the number of items in the group. In this case, it's 11, because we have 11 groups, so you know that it's going to process all of those groups. Now, that's basically the gist of it. Now, remember that it's important to have the propagate on, and because especially if we have hierarchies like this, when you assign the desk 1 null, and you have something underneath, and you want the desk 1 null to represent these two objects. The second bit is that you have to put default object include to on, because of course, like what you have discovered yourself, that you need to turn this on if you want the other objects to become matte black objects. So with that done, I'm going to show you the result of those tables. So I'm going to open up table 1, and you can see that that was table 1. Go to table 2, and it's quite different. Table 3, that's different as well. So as you can see, it's quite simple to automate that in Janus. Just use the for loop. It's a bit of an advanced feature, but it works, and it works quite seamlessly. So hope this one helps. Look to hearing from you. If you have any other questions, just let me know.